My name is Jay Morong. I'm the program director of the Charlotte Film Society and one of the programmers for the Charlotte Film Lab series. And I'm here with Eric Zala, who Eric is the one of the stars of the documentary Raiders, the story of the greatest fan film ever made. He is also the director of the Raiders of the Lost Ark adaptation, and also stars as Belloc in that adaptation. And Eric is joining us here in Charlotte at C3 Labs. We just had a great screening of the documentary, and now the fans are watching the adaptation. And so I guess the question I would want to ask is, for you as both a filmmaker and also somebody who's the star of a documentary, so not an actor, but your story is being told. How important is it for you to be able to get out amongst the people and talk with them about the film that you've either made or about the film that you're in, which is the Raiders documentary? How important is that to you?
I think it's so important. It was actually probably the primary consideration why we took the leap and self-funded this tour, to promote the documentary Raiders that tells the 35-year story. It's back when our film was discovered by accident in 2003, and had a world premiere at the Alamo Drafthouse Cinema in Austin, Texas. And a film review led to folks seeking us out, venues that tracked us down through the internet and invited us to come out and share the film and to share the stories of its making directly. And we started a tour that was to last 13 years. And in that time, none of this was supposed to happen. We just reshot Raiders for ourselves as kids. Never would have dreamed that we'd be traveling from Sitka, Alaska to Sydney, Australia. Being rather OCD, we kept track, and we've screened at like 120 venues over that time, and meeting people. And it's in Austin, during a subsequent screening, in the audience was Emily Haggis. She was 13, and she went on after that screening to direct like 4 features as a kid. Really staggering scale and ambition. She's amazing. She's on her 5th feature right now and living in Los Angeles, and she credited hearing the stories in the Q&A that we gave, that inspired her to kind of go on and do her own project. And she credited us in some interview in Teen Vogue, I think it was. We're still in touch. But that kind of thing, that has meaning to us, in terms of last night in Asheville, a woman came out and hugged me and had tears. She had worked on a car with her father for like most of his life to restore this 1928 model, and he died before it was finished, but our film inspired her that she was going to finish, and she was really emotional. That kind of experience back then is what, there's a lot of reasons to do the tour, to promote the doc, and whatnot. But that human connection of taking questions and hearing from people afterwards how this film affected them, I can't adequately describe, that kind of thing. So
well, it is something too that it's. There is something that I tend to, and you can tell me if I'm wrong on this, but there is something that I see very much about this tour that lives in the spirit of the actual making of the movie, right? Like it's sort of okay. Well, now that we're done with the movie, well, now what? And it's like, well, we have to get out there and get that movie out there and connect with those people to kind of show them that this is important, right? That it's not just a frivolous kind of, oh, we made a goofy movie as kids and it's funny. It is all that stuff, but that this was our life and this has real value. And I would sort of say with some of the anecdotes you just gave that maybe that's what people are responding to, because you're there in the room and they see here's a guy who not only made this, but he also, now he's here sharing it with us. Like he's in the room with us. He didn't just sell it to some distributor.
Right.
Again, I don't know if that's the case, but I feel like that is something, especially with personal movies, right? Like you want to be in the room with the person and live that moment with them. and even if it's just to ask them a question, or even if it's just to,
it's an enhanced experience that you don't normally get.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so what, you know, how has the tour just been in general? I mean, how has it been received? I mean, it seems like it's obviously been very well received, but how has it been received? How have you been feeling about it? Are you tired already? You know, I mean, it's going until September, but you know, it's like,
yeah. Well, it was, you know, it's a self-funded tour, you know, so my life prior to it was a breakneck pace the previous 2 months leading up to the tour. You know, my wife Cassie and I, we sold our home and you know, are embarking on the road, and went straight from that to beginning the tour on June 2nd in Seattle, and it was an aggressive pace of about a city a night. You know, initially flying from you know, Seattle, Portland, Vancouver, New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Boston, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, and finally about 6 weeks in, we finally got a breather, and it was so that's a demanding pace, but we'll be tired throughout the day, but pull up at a venue, and invariably the experience of being there and sharing this in a communal setting, you know, and seeing the best bits of my childhood set to John Williams and playing in a darkened theater, you know, to the cheers of, like, you know, all these people. It's a joyous way of reliving childhood, and you know, so the exhaustion and the exhilaration kind of balance out. I'm feeling really good about the tour. It's so much to take in, and the only complaint I have is there's been so many amazing people that we've met, and so many amazing places, and really cool places like C3 Lab here, you know, and to expose my kids to that, you know, we've taken them on the road with us too, and put them to work at the merch table.
Well, that was actually another question I had, and I don't, you know, if you don't want to talk about it, because when you talk about children, it gets
no.
But you know, there is also a thing where when I heard you were on tour, and then I heard you were traveling with your family, I thought, you know, there's a great line in the documentary where one of the guys says, you know, we sort of missed our childhood, and then we realized we were sort of filming our childhood.
Yeah.
And there is something about, like, that's happening in an interesting way for your again, and I don't want to, you know, get too personal, but
Yeah.
but like, is that something that you sort of see where, again, you get into the struggles, you're tired or whatever, but at the same time, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, you'll kind of look back and you'll be like, wow, we traveled around the country, like, with our family in an RV and our dog, and got to experience cities that, you know, they may never go to, you may never go to again. And they got to experience that and meet people that they might never meet or engage with, and you know, what's the value of that? I mean, you know, that value might be, you know, it's unknown, but clearly it might be something that you know, maybe kind of gets you through the day or something like that. I don't know, you know.
Yeah, you know, that's quite true. You know, we wanted these shy kids, we wanted to sort of break them out of their comfort zone, and you know, you actually. The tour, unlike, you know, since the tour is going on, I don't yet have that wonderful benefit of perspective, but even now I can see, I mean, I hadn't actually thought about it that way, you know, about the tour sort of encapsulating the same sort of energy, but it does, and I would want my kids to know that, okay, you know, we call it the Follow Your Dreams tour because, you know, we're taking the big leap, you know, of faith in doing that, and those are values that I would want our kids to have and to know, as was the case back when we were kids doing this, that yes, we finished, but it wasn't always fun. Sometimes it's really damn difficult. Sometimes you ask yourself, you know, am I crazy, you know, for taking this leap? I'm sure some people think we are, and then, but I got to tell you, it's been such an exhausting yet affirming experience talking with people every night, and what their responses is just, it's almost too much. So I'm very grateful, and in particular for my brave wife, Cassie. You know, I'm lucky to have a wife who values following dreams over financial security, and you know, in the call in the dock, you know, she told me afterwards, I wouldn't have let you, you know, quit, you know. So so lucky, and she's kind of part of the story now too, you know, which is a joyful thing. So yeah, the sort of odd Swiss Family Robinson, you know, cross-country tour throughout America is you know, as Cass and I say to each other, the roller coaster continues. You know.
What? So what? Last question I'll ask is, what? Is this? I guess the question is this the kind of the you know this is the end for the Raiders? Is this kind of like the and then a follow up to that, which is sort of like okay, so then what's next? If this is the end, if this is sort of you've sort of seen it through now, you've finished it. Now you get to sort of embark on this tour and really sort of take it out and share it. If this is the end, then what comes next for you as a filmmaker, as an artist, or just a person?
Wow, yeah, great question. You know, I long ago gave up. My expectation is that Raiders ends starting back in 1989 when we finally had the premiere.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, cool, you know, just so relieved to be done.
8 years in, we're done. Yeah.
In 2003, discovered and you know, meet Spielberg. Wow, can't get any better than this. And then you know, tour and visiting Luke, you know, Skywalker Ranch and the book and the Vanity Fair article and now the documentary, and now doing the airplane scene finally as adults, and then doing this tour. I've given up on closing the book, although I think you're right. I mean, it has to end at some point. What could be? Well, you know, it's if one thing that I know that the documentary guys, Jeremy Kuhn and Tim Skousen, are keenly interested in is developing it into a narrative. They think it would be a good story. You know, perhaps as a narrative film, but perhaps as a TV series, which might accommodate the sprawling nature. I mean, you've got the problem of kids aging 7 years in the course of making it. That presents a casting challenge unless you do something a la Harry Potter, where the cast really does age.
Or you do something where you sort of acknowledge, well, when you're watching the adaptation, they change ages constantly. So what, you know, embrace
that's true.
The, you know, the nature of what it is, and say, you know, an audience will get it. And maybe, you know,
could be. But yeah, it's been a wild ride for sure.
Well, we thank you for coming out. If you ever have anything else in the future and you're ready to show your next work in Charlotte, you always have a home here at the Film Society and at C3 Labs. So we appreciate you for coming out.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Hope to be back with original film.
And great. We look forward to it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
Thanks.
you. And thank you for watching.